Bienvenidos! Today we're going to talk about direct objects and direct object pronouns in Spanish. Direct objects are an important part of grammar in Spanish and English because these are words that describe what's receiving the action of a verb. So a direct object is a word or a group of words that receives the action of a verb. The subject does the action, the verb is the actual action, and the direct object receives the action. Usually, if you combine the verb with what or who, it gives you the direct object of a sentence. So in this sentence, Jessica reads books. If we say reads what, then reads books. So books is the direct object in this sentence. Jessica is reading a book. So we can find the verb, is reading, and say is reading what, or is reading who. Is reading a book. So a book is the direct object in the sentence. Jessica sees her book. Jessica sees, so sees is the verb. Sees what? Her book. So her book is the direct object. Her books. Now in Spanish, we have very similar grammar. The direct object can be combined with a question when you're reading the verb to find out who or what is receiving the action, and that'll be the direct object of the sentence in Spanish. So in Spanish we have Jessica lee los libros, and we could say lee que, reads what? It's reading the books. So the books are the direct object in this sentence. Jessica está leyendo un libro. Jessica is reading a book. So we look for the verb, está leyendo, and then we ask, está leyendo qué? Is reading what? She's reading a book. So a book is the direct object in this sentence. Jessica ve sus libros. Jessica sees her books. So the verb is ve, and what does she see? Ve qué? Ve sus libros. She sees her books. So her books are the direct object in this sentence. Now in English, in the next sentence, we're going to say Jessica wants to read. And a lot of times the direct object is a noun, but there are times when it's not a noun. And in this case, the direct object is actually another verb, to read, because Jessica wants is the actual subject and verb in the sentence. And then we have to say wants what or who? Wants to read. So to read is the direct object in this sentence. So in Spanish we have Jessica quiere leer. Jessica wants to read. Quiere qué? What does she want? Leer. So leer is the direct object. Let's look at another example. Jessica buys some books. So we have to find the verb, buys, and then buys what? Some books. So that's our direct object. Jessica compra unos libros. So the verb, we find the verb compra. Compra qué? What does she buy? Unos libros. Unos libros is our direct object. Jessica says she reads every day. Now in this sentence, the subject is still Jessica. The main verb is says. Jessica says. And says what? She says, and then it's a whole group of words here. She says she reads every day. So this whole phrase, she reads every day, that is our direct object. And in Spanish we can say Jessica dice que lee todos los días. Jessica says she reads every day. So, just like in English, Jessica's our subject. Dice, says, is our verb. Dice que, what does she say? Que lee todos los días. She says she reads every day. So, que lee todos los días is our direct object. Jessica thinks reading is fun. So in this sentence, Jessica is still our subject. Thinks is our main verb. Jessica thinks. And then we say, Jessica thinks what? She thinks reading is fun. So this whole group of words, reading is fun, is our direct object. Jessica piensa, Jessica thinks. ¿Piensa qué? Thinks what? Que leer es divertido. So, que leer es divertido, that's our direct object. It's receiving the action of the verb pensar. Piensa. Let's see here. Does Jessica read books? Okay, so this is a question. We have to have a subject and a direct object. The subject is still Jessica. Does Jessica read? And then the direct object would be read what? Read books. In Spanish, lee Jessica los libros? Does Jessica read books? So we still have the same subject, Jessica, and then the verb lee. Lee qué? What does she read? Los libros. So that's our direct object. Now in Spanish, just like in English, sometimes we use pronouns, words to stand for other words. We use subject pronouns to stand for the subject in a sentence, and we can also have direct object pronouns to stand for the direct objects. And in Spanish, we have direct object pronouns also. And those pronouns are me, me, us, nos, him, lo, her, la, you, and in Spanish there are lots of pronouns that could be you. It could be te, lo, la, los, or las. Them could be los or las, and it could be lo or la. So in Spanish we use direct object pronouns to stand for the direct object, just like we would use in English. So in this sentence, Jessica reads, we might say, Jessica reads books. We might say Jessica reads them. So if we wanted to say that in Spanish, we would pick whichever pronoun means them in Spanish. So we would look down here and say, what do you think the pronoun is going to be for books? Is it going to be los or las? Well, since we know that libros in Spanish is masculine, we're going to choose the pronoun los. So we're going to form our sentence. Jessica lee los libros. We're going to substitute a direct object pronoun, and it's going to be los. But the problem is in Spanish, we don't put the pronoun in the same place as we put it in English. So we're going to practice putting that pronoun in a different location. It would be before the verb. So in English we could say Jessica reads them. But in Spanish we would say Jessica los lee. It comes before the verb. So let's look at this example sentence and use some of these pronouns in Spanish. Jessica sees me. Okay, so we know the direct object comes after the verb in English. And in English, me is me in Spanish. So in our Spanish sentence, we're going to say Jessica, and we're going to put the pronoun before the verb. Jessica me ve. Jessica sees me. Jessica me ve. Now let's just say Jessica doesn't see me. Let's just say she sees him. So we're going to use Jessica sees him. In Spanish it'll be lo. Jessica sees him. Jessica lo ve. Now, in Spanish, we could also have the present progressive. Está viendo. Jessica is seeing him. It can go before. Jessica lo está viendo. Or it could be tacked onto the end of that present participle. Jessica está viéndolo. So when you have a present participle, you can tack the direct object pronoun on the end of that. Or you can put it before the verb. If you have just a regular present tense verb, the direct object pronoun has to go right before the verb.